The Strait of Hormuz is not open because the United States bombed Iran's navy. It is not open because America killed Iran's supreme leader. It is not open because 7,800 targets have been struck in 32 days of the most intensive air campaign in the region since the Gulf War. The strait is not open because Iran still has the upper hand in many ways, and the geography, the weapons, and the warfare methods it is using to hold 20% of the world's oil supply hostage are not things that air power alone can defeat. That is not the assessment of an anti-war Democrat or an Iranian propagandist. It is the assessment of the United States military's own operational commanders in the Gulf. And the fatal error they have now exposed, the single strategic mistake that sits underneath every extended deadline, every contradictory statement, and every unanswered question about what victory looks like, is one that was baked into this war before the first bomb fell on February 28th. The error was simple and catastrophic. Trump assumed that killing the supreme leader and destroying Iran's conventional military would force the closure of the Strait of Hormuz to end and the regime to capitulate. He was wrong on both counts, and the military commanders who are now managing the consequences of that error in real time are telling anyone who will listen exactly why. Here is the full picture of what those commanders have said, what the geography and military reality of the strait actually means, and why the week that began today, March 31, 2026, with 6 days until the April 6 deadline, is the most dangerous 7 days of this entire war. The operational reality of the Strait of Hormuz is the starting point for understanding everything else. The strait is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point and divided into 2 lanes of shipping, each roughly 2 miles wide, separated by a 2-mile buffer zone. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman, and from there to the global ocean trade network. Roughly 20% of the world's oil and an even higher percentage of the world's liquefied natural gas passes through it every day. The geography is specific and strategically brutal. The northern shore of the strait is Iranian territory for its entire length. Iran has spent decades building a military infrastructure on that coast and on the islands that dot the waterway, specifically designed to make it unpassable for any adversary when Tehran chooses to close it. U.S. Central Command Commander Admiral Brad Cooper gave the most candid official American assessment of the strait situation in a March 23 interview. He acknowledged the strait is physically open in the sense that there is water connecting the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman, and ships could theoretically pass through it. Then he acknowledged the operational reality that makes that theoretical openness meaningless. Ships are staying away because Iran is firing missiles and drones at vessels attempting to transit. The strait is not blocked with a physical barrier. It is blocked with the credible threat and actual exercise of lethal force against any vessel that tries to use it. And the weapon systems Iran is using to sustain that threat are specifically the category of systems that are hardest for conventional military power to defeat quickly. Those systems are drones, sea mines, and short-range missiles fired from coastal positions and from small, fast attack boats that operate in clusters from Iran's island positions inside the waterway. The CNN analysis from this week identified these precisely as the reason Iran still has the upper hand in many ways. Cheap drones that cost thousands of dollars are being used to threaten tankers that cost hundreds of millions. Sea mines that cost almost nothing to manufacture and deploy cannot be safely removed without slow, painstaking, dangerous mine-sweeping operations that take days per mine and cannot be safely conducted while Iran can observe and target the sweep teams. Short-range missiles fired from coastal positions are difficult to destroy from the air because their launchers are mobile, concealable, and backed up by a geography that places them in caves, tunnels, and hardened positions built into the mountainous Iranian coast specifically to survive airstrikes. This is the fatal error. Trump's war planners appear to have assumed that destroying Iran's conventional military capability, its navy, its missile production facilities, its air defenses, would make the strait defenseless and passable. They destroyed the navy, they hit the missile factories, they struck the air defenses, and Iran closed the strait anyway,
with the cheap, decentralized, low-technology systems that no air campaign can efficiently eliminate because there are too many of them, they are too mobile, and the geography protects them in ways that precision bombs cannot overcome. The IRGC Navy commander Rear Admiral Alireza Tangsiri was killed by Israel on March 26th. Israel called him the architect of the blockade. The blockade did not end when he died, because the blockade does not depend on one man. It depends on a doctrine, a geography, and a distributed weapons infrastructure that is still fully operational on day 32 of this war. The Egyptian-led diplomatic effort that NPR reported this week is operating on the assumption that time is running out before the military situation makes a negotiated solution impossible. Egyptian officials told NPR that Egypt's president has been traveling to every Gulf capital in recent days, trying to lay the groundwork for a 30 to 60-day ceasefire or détente to keep Saudi Arabia and the UAE from directly responding to Iranian attacks on their territory and widening the war further. That 30 to 60-day ceasefire concept is not a peace deal. It is a pause designed to prevent the next escalation long enough for real talks to potentially begin. The fact that Egypt is working this hard on a 30 to 60-day pause rather than on a permanent settlement tells you exactly how far from resolution this conflict actually is, despite everything Trump has said about most of the 15 points being agreed and talks going very well. The Iranian mines in the Strait of Hormuz are the most immediate operational crisis the United States military is managing right now. American intelligence confirmed that Iran had placed at least a dozen mines in the strait in the early weeks of the war. Iranian military statements have threatened to lay mines across the broader Gulf sea lanes if American forces attempt to seize any Iranian island or coastal position. Mine sweeping is among the slowest and most dangerous military operations that exists. It requires specialized vessels, trained crews, and conditions of relative safety that cannot exist when the force controlling the minefields is still actively hostile and capable of firing on the sweep teams. The United States Navy has mine-sweeping capability. Using it effectively while Iran is still firing drones and missiles at anything that moves in the strait is a problem that has no quick military solution. The Kharg Island option, which Trump mentioned from Air Force One on Sunday, which Senator Lindsey Graham has been promoting as the decisive blow that wins the war, and which the Washington Post confirmed the Pentagon is actively planning, runs directly into this same geography problem. Kharg Island sits 15 miles off Iran's southern coast. Getting there requires moving naval vessels and amphibious craft through waters that Iran has been mining and patrolling with fast attack boats for 5 weeks. Taking the island requires Marines to land on a position that Iran has been hardening and preparing as a trap since Iranian intentions became obvious. Holding the island requires sustaining those Marines under continued Iranian fire from the mainland, from the IRGC's distributed coastal defense network, and from whatever weapons systems Iran has pre-positioned on the island itself that American intelligence has not fully identified.
Foreign Policy Magazine's analysis published this week was the most explicit high-level assessment of where the fatal error leaves Trump's options. It identified 3 possible paths, none of them clean. He accepts a deal on terms that fall short of what he publicly demanded and claims victory anyway, leaving an untapped and enraged Iranian regime 2.0 in place that will rebuild and retaliate when the American focus moves elsewhere. He escalates to the ground operations that the Marine deployments are staging for, betting that seizing Kharg Island or breaking the Strait blockade militarily will produce the political result that 32 days of air power has not. Or he declares mission accomplished on the degraded Iran basis of what has already been destroyed and withdraws, acknowledging implicitly that the Strait of Hormuz issue is unresolved and leaving the global oil market in a state of sustained uncertainty. The publication also warned of the darkest scenario if Trump feels trapped and desperate.
noting he might resort to extreme measures that involve reckless deployments of ground troops or even the use of unconventional weapons, leading to a protracted conflict or a wider global war. The 6 Americans killed in the KC-135 tanker crash on Sunday, bringing the total American death toll to 21, were doing exactly the work that the fatal error created the need for. They were flying refueling missions to extend the range of American strike aircraft over Iranian targets. They died because a war that was supposed to end quickly through shock and decapitation has instead turned into a sustained campaign of daily sorties over a large and hostile country. Every day the strait stays closed is another day of tanker flights, another day of risk, and another set of families waiting for news that no family should have to receive. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bakir Ghalibaf, said this week that his men are waiting for American ground troops and will set fire to them. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, told hotels in Gulf countries to deny bookings to U.S. military personnel, claiming American forces were using Gulf citizens as human shields. These statements are not just propaganda. They are statements of a government that has absorbed 32 days of the most advanced military campaign ever launched against it and still believes it is winning the endurance contest that this war has become. They believe it because the strait is still closed, because the oil is still above $100, because the Marines are staging for operations that have not yet begun, because Trump extended his own deadline twice, because every taco hashtag and every Lego video and every "you are fired" meme is being believed by millions of people around the world who are watching the gap between Trump's words and the military reality grow wider by the day. The fatal error was not in the execution of the strikes. American and Israeli forces performed their tactical missions with extraordinary precision and effectiveness. The fatal error was in the assumption that tactical effectiveness at the conventional military level would produce strategic capitulation at the political level. It did not. It has not. And on day 32, with 6 days to April 6th and 3,500 Marines anchored in the Gulf and 3,000 paratroopers preparing to deploy, the commanders who are living with that error are preparing to be asked to solve with ground forces what 32 days of air power could not solve. Their answer to that question, if it comes, will determine whether this war ends in weeks or in years.